I, 32 male, have a younger sister who's 26. She and I are very close. Our dad died weeks after she was born. He had cancer. Our mother and I always had a strained relationship. Dad leveled her out a bit, but once he was gone, she unleashed her uptight, controlling self onto me. She didn't believe in children having any downtime. She thought boys should be athletic and do as many physical activities as possible. As a kid, she had me in basketball, football, hockey, karate, and boxing. I had no say in my activities, and my mother expected me to excel at them all. I was never a kid into sports or athletics in general, so I hated it, and I was never very good. It was a point of contention for years. She told me I needed to try harder and that it was important to be masculine and strong. I argued that I was doing too much and hated it all. She told me she was my mother and got the say. She had my sister in dance and art classes as a kid. She had as many extracurriculars as me, but the girl-appropriate activities. When I was 16, my mother remarried. Her husband had kids from his first marriage, a toddler and a preschooler at the time. By that point, my mother and I were just holding on until I was 18 and could be out of her hair. That didn't stop her and her husband from trying to pawn his kids off on me under the guise of spending the same with them as I did with my sister. I was not interested. I knew I would be estranged from my mother once I moved out, so I made no effort. I moved out and kept in touch with my sister. When she graduated high school, she lived with me for a while, and again when she finished college. My wife was always cool with this, and they were very close. Last year, I walked my sister down the aisle at her wedding. I believe this might have been the turning point with my stepsister. My mother and her family were not invited, but they gate-crashed the ceremony and were thrown out, but not before her stepkids saw that I was walking my sister down the aisle. A few months ago, my stepsister contacted me via Facebook and asked if she could stay with me for the summer before college. I said no. She asked if we could talk more, and I said no. She then found my wife and asked her, and the answer was the same. I saw her at the mall near my house a few weeks ago. She approached me and asked me to speak. I told her I had no time and wasn't interested. She told me it was unfair, that I have more than one sister, and not only did she get to live with me, but I walked her down the aisle. She told me she and her brother deserved better, that spending a few months in my home would be good for sibling bonding. I told her she was not my sister, so she could not live with me. She became upset and tried to start a scene, but I simply left. She started to give my sister crap about it because I blocked her everywhere. Apparently, she thinks I'm an idiot for denying her as my sister. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It sounds like your egg donor and her second husband opened the party line of older brother and sister and kept it going, even though you were never home after turning 18. I feel for your stepsister, but she isn't your responsibility in any way, shape, or form. Nothing wrong with the stepsister asking, but she does need to take no for an answer. I feel like the stepsister's desperate to stay with OP, so there is a chance OP's mother went full overbearing monster on them, as well as once OP and his sister were gone. No idiots here. Your step-siblings are growing up with the same mother you had to, so they might be experiencing some of the same problems and are reaching out because they need help in getting away. You're not obliged to, but finding out why they also want to move away could be telling. Yeah, OP owes her nothing, but also, she's clearly desperate to get out of a bad situation, and OP said screw off. I don't care how bad you have it. He's the idiot for that. I'm not sure why he didn't at least talk to her. Tell her living with him isn't an option, but maybe at least open lines of communication. Maybe let her visit for a weekend or something. My wife, 28, and I, 34 male, are having a huge disagreement. My wife loves short clothes, and I love anything she wears. But honestly, for the 4 years we've been together, we've always had the issue of coats. We live in a very cold country, and I don't understand why my wife needs to take my coat when she's cold. She refuses to bring her coat and gets mad when I bring her one, saying that it ruins her outfit. But she will steal my coat when she gets cold. I feel the cold really badly. and I don't like going without it. And if it happens once or twice, it's fine. But all the time, she won't let me bring a coat because it's silly to walk around with a woman's coat. Yesterday, I was invited to go stargazing for my wife's niece's birthday, and I told her, and I can't stress this enough, that it will be cold. She still wore a cute, tight, tiny outfit, and I got snapped at for trying to bring a coat. Halfway into this trip, she started tugging on my coat, asking for me to give it to her. I told her no. I warned her this would happen, but she wanted to go home. I was having fun, and honestly, I didn't want to go, so I gave her the keys and told her to go herself. She got upset and called me a fat idiot who couldn't do anything for his wife, and I honestly was shocked. I grabbed the keys from her and told her not to be such a selfish brat and to get a ride from someone else, and I went home. She hurt me in front of her family, and now we're not speaking to each other. My friends say that I was mean, and a man should always protect his wife. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This is one of the dumbest relationship fights I've ever read. For goodness sake, she's out stargazing at night in some cold country, not walking the runway at a Paris fashion show. Put a coat on or don't. Buy a man's coat or don't. But if you think I'm giving up my coat as some antiquated act of politeness, you're dumber than a cabbage. And your friends aren't the brightest stars in the night sky either. She's unreasonable, and like you said, selfish. She can't expect you to freeze for the sake of her outfit when she has the tools to keep herself warm. Furthermore, the crux of her argument is that wearing a jacket will hide her outfit. When she wears your jacket, her outfit is hidden anyway. You should keep a spare jacket of hers in the car going forward, since it doesn't seem like she's ever going to stop doing this. Is it a test of his love? Will he freeze for me? This woman goes out of her way to be a burden to him. I've never heard of crap like this. I bet she steals the food off his plate too, and she wants to look exciting for her family. Your wife actually sounds like a childish, vain, superficial, selfish brat with a low EQ and little common sense. Also, it's 4 years later. You chose to marry a high-maintenance princess, so I hope you're not holding your breath for her miracle change. I, 21 female, live in an apartment with Ann, 19 female. We live in a university-style apartment where you're assigned roommates based on compatibility, so I didn't know Ann before she moved in late January while I was gone on vacation. We've been living together for 6 months now, and she's a decent person and a relatively pleasant roommate most of the time. With that being said, we're friendly, but we're not friends. I've got no issue with her, and I don't think she has any issue with me. We're just both always gone from the apartment when the other's here. She's a student plus a part-time worker, and I'm a full-time worker, and we don't have much of anything in common. We try to say we'll hang out and do this or that, but nothing ever materializes. This is a bit rambly, but it'll all become relevant. A couple of months ago, Ann's boyfriend, John, 20, was feeling poorly. I don't know exactly what happened, but she took him to the ER, and he racked up a couple of grand in medical bills. I understand that the situation wasn't life-threatening, but he needed some treatment and medication. As a student, John couldn't afford to pay the bills, and my roommate set up a GoFundMe for him. She told me about it, shared it with me, and I shared it on my social media pages to help spread the word for her and potentially get her some more donors. Apparently, that wasn't good enough. Ann came up to me a couple of days ago talking about her and John doing something, and it led into the subject of his ER visit and med bills. She told me she noticed that my name wasn't among the donors to his GFM and said if I was saving up for a bigger donation, it would be better to just split it up and donate part now because John's trying to make a payment before the end of the month. It just got really awkward, and I told her I wasn't saving to donate because I was trying to put all my funds together in preparation for moving across the country next week. I need money for the trip and to tide me over until I secure work. Ann got angry, to say the least. She said I was selfish and had no empathy if I wouldn't even donate $20 to her boyfriend's debt. She said if I could afford to pay my last 3 months' rent at once, I could afford to spare some money for his bills that he can't afford, and that he's poorer than me right now, so I need to help him. Honestly, I like helping people when I'm in the position to, but I'm not. On top of that, I only somewhat know Ann and barely know John, and half of what I've heard about him frankly isn't good, including how Ann was contemplating for a month or so about dumping him. I have no clue if I'm being an idiot or not. Am I? Not the idiot. What kind of country puts a 20-something in debt over ensuring he wasn't dying? Barbaric. You're not required to pay for an unknown stranger's debt. It's a shame how expensive United States health care is, but that's also not your fault. Your roommate is an idiot for trying to manipulate you into giving her boyfriend money. Why doesn't John contact medical billing with the hospital to complete student or income paperwork? Most of his debt would probably be waived away. Most universities in the U.S. offer health care. I wonder why he didn't look into that. Also, kids can stay on their parents' insurance until they turn 26, if the parent carried them. But besides that, OP has no obligation to deal with another person's debt if she doesn't want to. Spoiler alert, the money isn't for medical bills. I worked in medical billing, and he could get financial assistance from the hospital. And as far as GFM, they don't even pay out for 2 to 3 weeks after the closing date of it. It sounds like a very good thing that she'll be moving across the country soon. Roomie and boyfriend sound like they would be drama. My wife, 37 female, and I, 38 male, have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids, pre-tween and younger. During the pandemic, my wife's job allowed her to switch to 100% work from home. They never required her to go back to the office because her productivity actually increased, so there was no need. It made things easier for us too. I dropped the kids off at school and daycare in the morning, and she picked them up in the afternoon. She was able to keep up with a few things around the house during the day. We saved on gas and car maintenance, etc. A few months ago, she was contacted by a recruiter about a job. It would be a nice step up in her career path, as well as a boost in pay. But there are drawbacks. The company had no work-from-home policy and would require her to work in the office. This was apparently non-negotiable. It would also be a 45-minute commute for her. We talked it over a lot, and I expressed my concerns about how this would impact our daily lives. I told her that I don't necessarily think that the bump in pay is worth the major changes to our daily lives, not to mention the stress that a long commute can have on people, and that could impact their mood and how they interact at home. She assured me that everything would be fine, and we would adjust as a family, and soon the new routine would just become our new normal. I told her that I would never tell her not to take the job, but I just don't know if it's worth the changes that it's going to bring. Ultimately, the decision was hers, and she accepted the new job. She's been there for about 10 weeks now. To say it's been an adjustment is an understatement. She wakes up and leaves before the kids even get up. She'll help get a few things ready for them before she goes, but the entire morning kid routine is on me. I also do both drop-off and pick-up for all the kids too. Evenings have been a huge mess because I get home and try to get the kids distracted while I start dinner. When my wife gets home, she's usually stressed from the drive. Her commute is turned into over an hour due to construction and traffic, and takes 15 minutes for herself to calm down before eating alone. Then after dinner, she's going to bed earlier because she has to wake up earlier. I told her that I feel her new job has put an unfair amount of household and childcare duties on me, and that she's being far less present in our lives when she's home. The quality of meals I'm cooking for the kids is not to the quality my wife previously prepared. The house is not nearly as clean. Laundry's more backed up, the yard is in worse shape, etc. Nothing in our lives, including our bank account, has improved with this new job. She told me that we just need to give it more time to adjust, and things will get easier. I told her that 10 weeks is a pretty good adjustment period, and I hate it so far. She told me that I'm being an unsupportive jerk, and I need to give it more time. Not the idiot. I don't understand the people saying it's your time to do it when you've pointed out the fact that before her new job, you both used to split the kids' routine together. And I don't see what the issue is with keeping up with the housework since you worked from home. It seems like you had a good dynamic going and balanced teamwork. Where do you see an equal split? How is dropping the kids off in the morning while she's doing everything else an equal split? It sounds like the wife was pulling double duty before. His words make it sound like he's just sad that she's not doing as much at home anymore. Not that they had an equal balance before. It is unequal now because she's expecting her husband to pick up her slack the way she picked up his ever since. This is weaponized incompetence, OP. You are the idiot for expecting things to just be the same and not step up to the standards your wife has set. It's time for you to learn to cook better, clean better, and manage your time better. You also said it feels like your wife isn't being present as a parent. And you sarcastically said you tell your children that it's not mommy's turn to parent. You sound like a whiny, petulant child yourself. This was a step up for your wife, and you're pooping over it because you can't handle being up to standards. Poor wife and kids. I, 20 male, live at home and will graduate college soon. My older sister, Sammy, 21, also lives at home. Now, there are 3 house rules that if you break them, our parents have told us that they'll kick us out. One of them is sneaking people into the house at night. It is a long story behind that rule, but we all know it's a big no in the home. Our parents have cameras to monitor their property, and they rarely check it unless something happens. The garbage cans were knocked over, and so my dad checked the cameras, and Cindy, Sammy's girlfriend, was sneaking out of the house. Sammy isn't out, and everyone assumed it was my guest. I tried to say it wasn't, but they didn't believe me, and my sister kept saying, why would she bring a girl over in the night? My parents were talking about giving me a month to move out, and I blew up and showed it was Sammy's girlfriend. I pulled up a picture they had together on Instagram. Parents don't have that, to prove it wasn't me. This resulted in a huge argument with my sister, where she called me an idiot and said that I should take the fall. My parents told her that they would talk later, so I am doubting myself on this. Am I the idiot for outing my sister instead of taking the fall? I may be the idiot since it's something you shouldn't do, even though it was her fault for being caught. You are the idiot for telling your parents it's your sister's girlfriend. If she wasn't out to your parents, you had no right to tell them. You should have found a different way to prove it was your sister's guest, or had a lengthy conversation with your sister about refusing to get kicked out because she made a mistake. You didn't need to be the one to tell your parents that your sister's a lesbian. Not the idiot. Your sister was willing for you to be homeless? For example, she could have owned up to it and taken responsibility without outing herself. Sorry, Mom and Dad, my friend was having some personal issues and needed help and a place to stay the night. I decided to let her stay because she had nowhere to go. I mean, were they kissing in the photo? People kiss their friends. I agree. A very rare instance of outing someone is acceptable. She was blowing up his life. OP doesn't deserve to be kicked out of the house because she messed up. She shouldn't have snuck her girlfriend in if she didn't want to get caught. She knew what would happen to her brother and was still willing to make her brother homeless. Sister only has herself to blame. Her idiocy caused this, and her unwillingness to come clean, instead of blaming her brother, caused her to be outed. If anyone should have lied about who her girlfriend was, it was his sister, who was too busy blaming her brother. Though it's difficult not to think that your parents are idiots for reacting the way they did. I know you said that there was an incident that explains it all away, but going from 0 to you have a month to move out because you maybe had a girl over? The same goes for if they give your sister the same deal. Your sister was an idiot for trying to make you take the fall, but having a girl over really shouldn't be that big of a deal.